Well, my background is that I'm a trained journalist. I was an author before I was homeless. I lived in London for like 18, 19 years. And I was always just about clinging on to my home because it's not hard. And the prices were always, the rent costs were always increasing more than your salary. So it was always downwards. And somehow I managed to handle it for 18 years. And then things were getting really, really scary. And I knew what was facing me. And it was that great unsaid thing about homelessness. It's like, and I know many of my friends were in the same situation, but it just wasn't talked about. And the pressure of trying to not have a nervous breakdown, because I couldn't have a nervous breakdown, because if I had a nervous breakdown, I'd lose my home, caused me to have a nervous breakdown. And there were many other factors as well, but that was the predominant factor. And then I ended up on the streets and I was living my greatest fear. And in a way, it was such a relief to be homeless, to be rough sleeping, because I'd been scared of it for so long. And then when it happened, I was like, well, this is as bad as it gets. And I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. However, it was extremely dangerous. It was traumatizing. It was, it destroys your self-esteem, but it also opened my eyes to something that I would never have seen and never have understood. I appreciated people were homeless and I would help homeless people, but till I was actually there, I couldn't really understand the experience and just how wrong it is. You know, I mean, a home should be a human right. That's what I believe. We are the fifth richest country in the world, and that absolutely ought to be the bottom line. And people here, there, everywhere shouldn't be living in fear, because it's not just the fact of being homeless or being a rough sleeper. I'm thinking about all the people around here who are looking at their bank accounts or waiting for the letter from the landlord or the landlady asking them to add another £100 a month to their rent, and thinking that could be me, and what that does to people's mental health. You know, it's just appalling, absolutely appalling. So it's my story, and I've been given a gift as a writer to tell it, so that's what I'm doing. When I moved here from a place called Leytonstone in East London, and Leytonstone was about the only affordable, decent place to live, and it was like a best-kept secret, like Stroud was. And I used to tell people I lived in Leytonstone, and they would say, oh, you don't want to go there, it's a hole and things. And then suddenly someone caught on to the fact that it had really good transport links, it was a lovely area, a proper working class community, and it was affordable. And then a nice restaurant appeared, and then we got in Time Out, and everyone got very excited about it. And then the wheels came off, and anyone that was in private rented accommodation was facing horrendous increases in their rent, and just being forced out of places that they lived in. Some of them were families who'd lived there for generations, being forced out. So when I came here, and I kind of thought, I have landed on my feet here, because honestly, I stuck a pin in the map when I landed in Stroud, and it is such a lovely place, and I'm so happy to be here and so grateful to be here. And I did think, why do more people not know about Stroud? And then that article appeared in the Sunday Times, and I was like, oh no, you know, it's happening all over again. And there's a whole new set of people who are going to be affected by this, you know, and I've no doubt that there are some people with serious investments being ploughed into Stroud who want this place. They want house prices to go through the roof. They want it to become like Chelsea and the Cotswolds. I can see that, and I just worry about what the impact of that would be on Stroud. What I know of Stroud, like Leytonstone, it's not every town. It's really, really unique, and it's got a culture all of its own. And it's quite special. I know all about its history. I know about Guy Fawkes. I know about Dick Whittington. And my hope is that it's special and different enough for the community to come together and work out what we're going to do about this challenge, because it's going to be an enormous challenge. It's going to affect everybody's parents and everybody's grandchildren, but come together as a community and work out what we do next, how we cope with this, and how, because there will be an increase in rough sleepers around here, and unless we can come up with something magic. During my time on the streets, and I was on and off for like 4.5 years, I felt incredibly rejected and incredibly alone. And my way of dealing with that was to start writing about it on Facebook, and I really didn't think anybody would care. And people did, and more people were reading it, and it got turned into a blog by someone I'd never met. And then my publishers, Freedom Press, got in touch with me, and they said, it's amazing. Can we turn it into a book? Which they did. And as a result of that, that got turned into a film. So everything kind of happened by accident, but it is the most, I believe, the most honest account of the experience of rough sleeping that you will ever read. And I leave no stone unturned. I look for the guilty parties, and the guilty parties are not the poor folks who are out there sleeping. I run the gamut between all the political parties, the councils, the health service, the GPs, and all the people who are paid good money to help and don't do their jobs, basically, and go home to their warm flats. Homelessness is big business, don't forget, and a lot of people make good money out of it, but no one's doing anything to stop it. Maybe Stroud could be an exception. I think there's enough intelligence in this town to do things differently to anywhere else, and wouldn't that be amazing if we did?